Let's also get an updated call now on the situation with Steve Carlson.
There's Sauter. Look at that advantage
down.
he's building on car number 88, the Mike Eddy machine. It's growing, growing, growing.
Steve Carlson is on the lead lap. I want to reconfirm that because we've called him inadvertently both on and off the lead lap, and he is comfortably inside the top 6. Steve Carlson is on the lead lap. Ralph?
Larry, we want to take a look back at something that took place last year at Berlin Raceway. Take a look at this replay. This was the last time Mike Eddy and Jay Sauter went head-to-head. Jay Sauter got inside of Eddy on the last corner, won his very first ever race. If he can win here today, the way he is going now, this will give Jay Sauter a tremendous amount of confidence. First, he went head-to-head with him, muscled his way to the checkered flag, and now he might actually outrun Mike Eddy. What a confidence boost that would be to this young man.
Jay Sauter has one career ASA win, and that was what you just saw. There is Benson. He has decided, oh, I better get going here. We're inside 50 laps to go. He goes to the house outside of Holzhausen, and John Benson moves up a position. He is now running 4th position with Ken Schrader and the number 35 car of Steve Carlson due ahead.
Well, if in fact Carlson is on the lead lap, as you just updated us, that means Benson, we thought was passing for 4th. He's now moved into 5th position, and right in front of him is the 35 machine of Steve Carlson, who has in his sights the 52 of Ken Schrader. So that's a great battle. And here's Jay Sauter in the green and black car number 1. As look at him, he's built a significant advantage over Mike Eddy's car number 88. Now, we qualified yesterday at about, I think, 16.690 seconds was the new track record time for Johnny Benson. Wonder how fast they're going now that we're about 210 laps into this Missouri 250. We've got to watch on Sauter. He's the leader, so obviously he's the guy to check.
Sun's been beating down all day, not a cloud in the sky, late in the race, tires are old, so you expect the clock is going to be slower. We'll see how much slower, as you pointed out.
17.7 seconds, and that's still fast enough to have made the field for the race here today. So Jay has not given up much. Another interesting story here. There were some rumors, 109.9 miles an hour. There were some unfounded, perhaps, rumors that because this team didn't finish as strongly as they would have liked last year, though Jay did end up 3rd in the national standings, almost forgotten with the battle that Eddy and Benson had, that there might have been some problems on that racing team. But at the banquet, everybody put that to rest, and I was glad to hear that because Chris Weiss, the car owner, and Jay Sauter, along with that entire team, they're a formidable group of guys. And, you know, he's showing that he's going to be one of the men to beat here this year.
John Benson has moved to the high side of Ken Schrader, and John Benson picks up yet another position. Johnny Benson Jr. now moves into 3rd, but I suggest he needs a yellow flag. He is about 1/2 of a lap, actually a little more than 1/2 of a lap behind Sauter and Eddy, but Benson is really showing his drive inside of him with all the incidents he's been involved in today.
The only word to describe the performance that he's turning in here this afternoon in that automobile is amazing. Involved in 2 on-track incidents. He had sat on the pole position, but boy, has he fought uphill all day long. He's now in 3rd. He's as fast as anybody out there. He's gotten around Kenny Schrader, Steve Carlson in the last couple of laps, and behind him now, the battle rages for 4th position. It's still Schrader right behind it. There he is in that blue, red, and white car number 52. As he moves to the high side, putting a lap on Kent Stauffer. Steve Carlson sits right behind him in car number 35.
Benson, incidentally, has been fast all weekend, so this was nowhere near a fluke. Now, Sauter is caught up in traffic. This is going to give Eddy a chance to move in on him because there is Tom Harrington taking the line which he deserves as a car that is lapping slower once he goes to the high side of the number 53 car of Scott Hansen. And Harrington and Jay Sauter come together. Harrington almost losing control right in front of Jay, but somehow they both dodged the bullet.
Now look at this. Sauter only gives up 2 car lengths to Eddy in the process.
Remarkable. Jay Sauter a year ago was number 1 in the percentage of laps completed in this league. He finished 93%. Look how close this was.
Here's the incident. I don't think Tom Harrington realized just how close Jay Sauter. Did you see the move Sauter made? I got to tell you, I'd have gone down to the bottom side of the racetrack and I'd be looking up right now. You know what I'm saying? A tremendous move by Sauter, but again, he's got lap traffic to contend with. It's the Dennis Lampman automobile, and then last year's rookie, Terry Wendy. They're going to give him breathing room as they drop down to the bottom of the racetrack. Sauter still got the advantage over Mike Eddy.
The point I was going to make was that the KC Motorsports car developed a pretty good reputation for longevity a year ago. led this league in the percentage of laps completed, 93%. And as strong as that car has been with 30 laps to go, you got to figure Eddie cannot expect that car to drop out. He's probably going to have to beat Jay on the racetrack. Jay, as we mentioned earlier, won only one race last year. He was in the top 10 6 times. Make that 5 times in the top 5. And as you pointed out, Rob, a little earlier, he finished third in overall points, 6 and dollars won.
Let's take a peek at the distance between Jay Sauter and Johnny Benson Jr. See whether or not the car number 21 is able to narrow that gap. Well, we missed it that time. Perhaps the next circuit around this racetrack. One of the biggest disappointments for that Jay Sauter team is they thought they were going to sign a major sponsor very recently. It has not materialized. So if you're out there, you got a company, how about getting on this car number 1? Well, there goes Jay Sauter. And look at all the cars separating that front-running pair from the third-place car, Benson.
We mentioned
there he comes.
About a half a lap, and 9.7. That's a little more than half, as the lap time was about 17.7. Ralph?
Radio conversations with crew chief Howard Thomas and driver Mike Eddy have told us that Mike is running a little bit hot right now. He has backed out of the throttle a little bit. He's trying to cool the engine down, and he's letting the laps tick away. This is a very calculating driver, Mike Eddy. He is a guy who knows how to get his car home to the checkered flag. He knows if he waits and everything stays green, he'll have another shot at this youngster in Jay Sauter. He is letting that car get race ready, and in a little while, we're going to see Mike Eddy turn that wick back up, and the 88 is going to be on the hunt again.
We mentioned that Sauter has 1 career win. Mike Eddy has 41 career wins, a 7-time American Speed Association champion. Mike Eddy has parlayed the Great American Racing Series to the Great American Mike Eddy Series since the inception, almost it seems, of ASA. Well, we're going to take a break from the action here. We're going to bring you home to the checkered flag after we come back from this one. 227 laps are complete. We'll be inside of 20 laps to go. When we return, the young driver from Wisconsin, Jay Sauter, continues to lead. The noose of laps is tightening in the opening round of the American Speed Association Series. This is the Wynn's Missouri 250. Jay Sauter has led the vast majority of this race from the early laps. Mike Eddy has bird-dogged him. We are now at lap 235, 15 grains of sand. 15 laps to go, and Sauter has about a 2-car length lead. Can the young Wisconsin driver pick up win number 2 in his career? What a tribute to Alan Kowicki, a former homestader himself of Wisconsin, this would be if Jay Sauter could win.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth, Larry. I mean, this young man showed more emotion over the loss of Alan Kowicki than any of the other drivers that we talked to. And I'm sure there was nothing that would make him more proud than to win this race for Alan, who had 5 career ASA victories, or his dad, who won 7 ASA events.